Okay, welcome to The Hills Are Alive, a movie musical podcast.
Nailed it.
My name is Alex Caress.
My name is Kelsey.
And we are here to discuss our favorite movie musicals.
Starting with
sound.
The best one.
The only one.
The titular movie.
It's the titular role. Sound of Music.
Yes.
So first, just getting started, Kelsey, what are your overall thoughts? What is your rating of it?
I mean, I think this movie is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't have a lot of criticisms.
Me either.
Even though in its time, when it was released, it was very hit or miss. I think that, like film critics were not super into it. They said it was too sentimental. Mm-hmm. And it is sentimental,
it's
but
very sentimental.
I view that as a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, in these sorts of apocalyptic times, that kind of...
Especially right now, yes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I do wonder, I first saw this movie when I was a child. I think it was the first musical I ever saw. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if I would have different views on it as an adult, seeing it for the first time.
How long has it been since you've seen it, do you think?
I mean, well, I watched it last week.
Right, but before that.
I'm sure I hadn't seen it, all the way through for years. I think I saw it for the first time when I was 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those movies that you don't really remember a time before having seen it,
That's true.
It's kind of always with you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I do think that leads to my appreciation for it today. But no, I think it's perfect.
Yeah. A+.
A++. You?
Yeah, I would agree. I think it was so much like a part of growing up, just like seeing different scenes or different like little tactile things, or even just the texture of things that it's just like brings back sort of a sense memory.
Yes.
Of what that felt like, or where you were when you were a kid when you saw it.
Yeah, and I think I get something, or I pick up on something new every time that I watch it.
Oh, yeah.
Because the adult viewing experience, even though it's part of why I love it is that nostalgia factor, you still have a different viewing experience as an adult than you do as a kid.
Yeah.
For example, as an adult, you realize there are Nazis in the movie, which is something a lot of people forget about when they watch it as a child, or they just don't pick up on it.
Right. Yeah, I feel like I as a kid, I feel like I saw Max as more of a bad guy or something. I mean, I know that he's like kind of comedic relief.
He's neutral.
Right. Yeah.
His crime is apathy.
Right. His fatal flaw is apathy for sure.
So should we try and dive into a as brief as we can of a recap? It's over 3 hours.
Right.
So
yeah,
let's have to try and focus on the highlights, but we'll see.
Yeah, let's dive into a recap. Let's see what we come up with. So if you haven't watched the movie in a while, or if you haven't seen it at all, now would be the time to go watch it and pause it and come back to us.
But we open with this majestic planet Earth style shot of the Alps.
Right. So, it starts with, it's just like clouds and like the whistling of the wind. It's like, and that's another thing that, from being a kid that I remember so much. Is like this sense of anticipation, and the music kind of comes in gradually with like little flute flourishes and stuff, and it's just like I remember the anticipation of it starting being. Well,
and that's not totally different from what Julie Andrews said about recording it. In her memoir, she talks about one of the more difficult aspects of going from theater to film is that with theater, you typically record the cast. Or the cast recording, you do the cast recording after the show is already run, or at least during the show when it's running. So she knows every single moment of when she's going to be on stage.
Right.
And how her voice is supposed to correspond to the actions. Mm-hmm. Whereas with filming a movie, they typically do the recording up front.
You do all the songs first so you can
Right, so
lip sync
exactly,
to it. Right.
exactly. And she was discussing how in Mary Poppins that was very difficult, not knowing the choreography and how out of breath she was going to be or wanted to appear to be.
Right.
And ran into some similar issues, not as many, but some similar issues with Sound of Music. But with this song, I mean, you can just tell. You can tell what the expression is supposed to be. You can tell exactly what she's going through because of that, musical building, that anticipation it creates.
Yeah. And you had mentioned something about this before, but how, like, this intro kind of introduces Austria as a character.
The fifth girl.
in Sex and the City terms, it's the fifth girl.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Salzburg is to The Sound of Music as Manhattan is to Sex and the City.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's my dissertation.
In this essay, I will...
But yeah, so we open in Salzburg. It's absolutely beautiful. In fact, the movie sets the scene with Salzburg, Austria, and the last golden days of the 30s.
Right.
Which we all remember dearly.
Right. The 30s.
Yes, exactly.
When Maria starts singing, you have this, like, what would now be considered a drone shot.
Oh, sure.
Zooming in on her, which...
Although I think it was with a big drone.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like, it would be, at the time, a helicopter speeding towards Julie Andrews on this mountain. I imagine that was pretty terrifying for her.
Yeah, she notoriously had a bad time filming that. Like, literally got knocked over by the propellers into the mud over and over.
I would love to see some bloopers, the blooper reel of that.
If the movie had ended with the credits rolling, the blooper reel.
All right, so we go to the Abbey. The nuns are doing their chant, which is just so beautiful.
Gorgeous.
I love it.
I know, you can't really beat nuns singing in Latin in a big cathedral.
Cathedral. That's the name of the third movie.
Just
Cathedral.
Sister Act 3, the cathedral.
But that's also it's a interesting juxtaposition because where we left Maria was kind of her cathedral,
Oh, that's lovely.
right? And then you come to the actual cathedral, which
I like that.
I guess at that point is she kind of came there to be set free, and it kind of became her prison a little bit.
Later on in the movie, I sort of get it. But at the beginning of the movie, I'm watching it and I'm wondering, like, why do you want to be a nun?
Right.
This seems so opposite of you. Because, she climbs a tree and scrapes her knee, and
Right.
her dress has always got a tear,
Right.
so on and so forth.
She's always late for everything.
Right.
Except
Except for
every meal.
meals.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah, I wonder why she wants to be a nun. We don't get a ton of Maria backstory.
No. And I think maybe she's trying to self-correct because she
Who
assumes
knows?
that she needs structure because of how free-spirited she is.
I could not tell you.
So we're introduced to some nuns. We've got Sister Margareta and Sister Berta, who are kind of like the angel and the devil.
For nuns.
Right. Margareta loves her. Sister Berta hates her.
She doesn't hate her.
No.
She just is cautionary.
Right. A
And
clown.
very serious.
Right.
Or is she? Because she makes some moves at the end of the movie that are pretty amazing.
Mother, I've sinned. So then we go into A Problem Like Maria, the ultimate shade song.
Right. So, addressing all of the primary issues, the scraping of knees and climbing of trees and whistling and singing without permission.
Singing without permission.
Yikes. And that basically prompts Mother... Do they call her Reverend Mother?
Reverend Mother.
Reverend
yeah.
Mother
to call Maria into the office.
And suggest in so many words, a rumspringer.
Right. A walkabout.
Yeah, yeah, except you have to go nanny these children for free.
7.
7 children?
Right.
That is a lot.
So she gets the news that she has to go on this Rumspringa to find herself, and so she changes her clothes. She puts on her best tweeds.
It's bad. She puts on her best tweeds that not even the poor wanted.
No, that leather hat, the wide-brimmed leather hat. That would go over really well at brunch these days, though.
You know what? Her skin is beautiful. It works.
Mm-hmm. It's that mountain air.
But so this is where they do I Have Confidence.
Right.
And I think this is my favorite song.
It's a really good song.
I love this song. And you know what's very interesting about this song?
What?
This one was added to the movie. It was not in the musical stage production. And Rogers did the lyrics on this one because Hammerstein had passed, unfortunately.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the two songs that were added to the movie...
So Hammerstein never saw the movie?
I don't think so, no. He died No, he didn't. He died in 1960.
Interesting.
Yeah, his final song ever was Edelweiss.
Oh.
I know. But no, so Rogers did both the music and lyrics for I Have Confidence. In my opinion, the best song in the movie.
Great lyrics.
Yeah, I agree.
She talks about how scared she is, about how she doesn't believe in herself, and she gets down, and then she builds herself back up and tells herself that she can do it. Yeah, and I know you and I have talked about this a little bit before, but my favorite stage musical is The Book of Mormon. And which I've never seen.
It's so good. I wish that it were a movie, because I want you to see it, and right now we don't go to big live productions of anything.
Right.
So... You know, your options are limited.
Unless you're a cardboard cutout.
Right, yeah. But one of my favorite songs, maybe my favorite song in Book of Mormon, I believe, I didn't catch it until watching Sound of Music last week, that I believe has a ton of references to I Have Confidence, and they're basically talking about the same thing. You know, it's two people who are struggling a little bit with their faith, but choosing to say, like, no, I have confidence in myself. I have faith in God.
Are they both preparing for like a mission trip of sorts?
Yeah. So she's going, to work for this family. And then in his case, he's, it's a little different. He's going to confront a warlord and try and get him to convert to Mormonism.
Same thing.
I think in her case, she's talking about, like, a captain with 7 children. What's so fearsome about that? And he says, a warlord who shoots people in the face. What's so scary about that?
Right. They're
same
both
difference.
on, as she puts it, God's errand.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I can't wait to, as we go through all of these movies, to find out what other hidden musical references are in Book of Mormon that I just didn't catch because I was laughing the whole time.
Maybe that'll be one of your segments.
Little pet project.
Mm-hmm. So she's swinging her bags around. Who knows if there's anything in the bags?
There's nothing at all in the bags.
Maria's bags are to Sound of Music as coffee cups are to Gilmore Girls.
Yes, absolutely. Just flailing them about.
Even when they get there, this is something as a musician that I cringe at every time when she finds the frog in her pocket and just drops her guitar down the stairs.
Yeah. That's not something I caught, but yeah, that absolutely happens. Because, so that's after she's met the captain. Mm-hmm. They have a very embarrassing exchange, but also we find out that Maria is very funny and clever.
Right. Yeah, there are more comedic moments from Maria than I remember.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, the line about, first of all, he's inspecting her, and it's very gross.
Right.
Like, the turnaround.
Yeah, turn around so I can see you. It's like, yeah, because I just watched Bombshell very recently. Talking about, that's like one of Roger Ailes' calling cards.
It's not Roger Ailes in the movie, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Okay, you can say that.
Yeah. It is.
These aren't allegations.
But yeah, one of his things is that he is the turnaround thing. It's like, gross.
Yeah. But yeah, and he asks her something about, where are your clothes? Where are your nicer clothes? And she's like, no, I gave them all to charity. And he asks, what about that dress? Oh, the poor didn't want this one. It's pretty funny.
Julie Andrews has some good timing.
Oh, and then he asks, or he mentioned she's the 12th governess. And she says, well, what's the matter with the children?
Right.
That made me laugh.
She's shady. I love it.
And then we meet the kids.
He whistles for them.
He whistles for the children. And they march out. And they, stepping in line, announce themselves one by one. Mm-hmm. And Gretel is the cutest.
It's funny to me how much she, even in these first interactions, pushes back at him, like even in front of the children.
How can she not, though?
Right.
I mean,
because she says whistles are for dogs, but not for me.
I know. Everyone gets a whistle except for him.
Right. You can call me Captain.
Yeah.
Well, then why not call the kids by their names?
Too complicated.
Right.
It's much simpler to remember these very intricate whistles.
But we learned some one-word things about the children. Friedrich says, I'm impossible. Kurt says, I'm incorrigible. Marta wants a pink parasol. And Gretel is almost a lady.
And Gretel is 5.
She's 5. She's this many.
She's adorable.
So they go to dinner. She guilt trips them and they cry.
Yeah, as a child, that scene always threw me for a loop. I never understood why they were crying so much.
It still doesn't really
I know,
make
it's
sense.
still a bit much. Like, you don't have to sob about it.
Right.
We get it. You are realizing in your heart you're a bad person. But
right.
you don't. You don't have to react like that.
And that's when, they kind of all take a pretty quick 180 on Maria.
Right, because she doesn't rat them out.
Right.
That's huge. Mm-hmm. Big bonding moment. And as we find out later on, the captain knew. He's not a dummy.
Right. And that's when he first fell in love with her, was when she sat on the pine cone.
And oddly enough, she says, I first knew I loved you when you blew that ridiculous whistle. Like, what? The whistle?
That doesn't make sense.
The whistle does
Obviously, they fell in love when, in the scene with the kids singing, and she sees him singing, whatever.
Right, because music saves everything. Mm-hmm. Anyway, then we move on to
16 going on 17.
Rolf.
Stupid Rolf.
Freaking hate Rolf.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that I didn't notice as a kid during this scene, is all of the kind of all of his veiled things about Nazi stuff. Like, he can't talk about the telegrams. He's very guarded about what's going on.
There is a lot of Nazi subtext going on there. Mm-hmm. The other thing I didn't pick up on as a kid is just how gross the entire message of 16 going on 17 is. Because as a child, you're watching oh, Liesel is so pretty and she's falling in love and she's 16 and everything is beautiful and fun and happy when you're 16 and you've got that dress on.
I know.
And you're skipping around the gazebo. Mm-hmm. I still think the gazebo choreography is beautiful.
And the dress is just
so much fun.
You just want to twirl.
Yeah. But the lyrics are problematic.
For sure. At least he's only a year older than her.
Well, and that's what makes it so gross to me, because I don't know. I view Rolf as everything he says and sings, he's very sincere about it.
Yeah.
I think he genuinely believes, I am so much better, just smarter and quote unquote older than you. Let me guide you.
But I think that's kind of supposed to be the humor of it. He's basically just as young as she is, but they're they're role playing this thing where he's.
But she also just sort of to me, I watch it and I think she's starting out very confident and very, she's really into him and she's not afraid to hide it. Yeah. But by the end of this song,
she knows what she wants.
She's saying, "You're right.
You're right.
I don't know anything.
You know better.
I'll just depend on you."
Mm-hmm. And then she's the one who initiates the kiss, right? She kisses him.
Yeah, it's a really quick mwah, and then he gets this look on his face and runs away, I think. And she screams.
She goes, "Wee!" As you do.
Which will never not be funny.
As one does.
I could see why critics weren't crazy about the movie when it first came out.
Your life, little girl, is an empty page that men will want to write
You
on.
shut up. Oh, just like on Game of Thrones.
What?
Oh, you never finished Game of Thrones.
Was this in the last 2 seasons?
Yeah, it's...
okay.
Never mind.
Does someone have a woman page?
No, it's a man page, but there's literally an empty page where a character in the last episode is writing down a story about him.
I see. So we go back up to Maria's room, and
Favorite things.
Frau Schmidt. Mm-hmm.
She's got some shade.
I know.
She has some
she's
shade.
like, she's like a true tea spiller here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to say anything, but I'm going to tell you that the Baroness is here quite a bit.
She's here to stake her claim, and she hates children.
Right.
And
Wet Liesel comes in.
Right, she sneaks in.
I know I said I didn't need a governess, but maybe I do.
It also blows my mind the way she sneaks in, like, oh, if I just tiptoe quietly, she won't notice a sopping wet person climbing through the window. But that part's funny. Oh, and I also like when Maria's saying her prayers, she can't remember all of the kids' names.
Kurt.
Yeah,
particular.
God bless, what's his name? That was pretty funny. Mm-hmm. But so all the kids get scared of the thunderstorm.
And of course...
Fun fact, it did rain a lot during filming. No one bothered to look up the weather before they got to Salzburg.
Interesting, because it always looks so beautiful.
Yeah, no, it wasn't most days.
Interesting.
But I think a lot of the interiors were shot on a soundstage, at Fox Studios. So that scene, for all I know, was
Studio
probably...
City.
Sure.
So we got my favorite things, which I want to talk about how did my favorite... I don't know if you did any research on this, but I didn't. How did my favorite things become a Christmas song?
Oh, that's a good question.
It doesn't make sense contextually.
I think, I don't know. Brown paper packages maybe evokes...
Right, snowflakes. Right.
On, whiskers? No,
snowflakes on eyelashes.
Snowflakes on eyelashes, whiskers on kittens.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know how it became a Christmas song, and I don't know that it is definitively...
But it always is on the Christmas stations.
Yeah,
around Christmas time.
I agree with you there.
Yeah.
But I think it is a controversial Christmas tune.
Right.
The captain shows up, shuts everything down, and reestablishes this is a house without laughter or music.
Right.
None of
Establishes
it.
that. Right. It reminds him of his dead wife. I'm guessing she always threw the parties, which is why he wanted the ballroom to stay closed.
Right.
I
will say, she shouldn't have been snooping around.
That's true.
That was weird, but he's a bit over the top.
She doesn't have any social graces,
It was around this scene that it occurred to me, because I've been watching The Vow.
Same.
And when I don't have a new episode of The Vow, I watch Leah Remini's Scientology show.
Scientology and the aftermath.
And it was around this point in time in the movie that I realized the captain would love Scientology.
So why?
Because in Scientology, the children are not children. They are old souls in tiny bodies.
Right.
They are adults. They should be treated as adults. They're, put them in the Sea Org.
Yeah, the Sea Org.
Let them march around and respond to whistles.
Right.
No laughter or music. None of that nonsense. That's for children.
Yeah. He
that
and the
don't
Baroness
exist.
would probably get into Scientology together.
I could see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except I like the Baroness. Well, we'll get to her.
I like her too. We're moving on.
I'm moving on. She asked for the curtains, and he just says like, no. Oh wait, I don't know if she asked for them yet, but she gets her idea.
No,
I'm
she
gonna
asked
make curtain clothes.
Right. Because she wants...
Earlier, she wanted play clothes.
and she wanted fabric to make them play clothes.
And he said,
right.
But then she wraps herself in the curtains, and you're like,
Because Frau Schmidt tells her that they're like going to redo her bedroom for her.
Yeah, you can tell she's thinking
the wheels
of
are turning, and so the next scene is them going out on the town
and
in
matching curtain
clothes. Right.
Yeah, and this is when I realized the kids definitely have no other friends.
No.
Because we've got 16-year-old Liesel running around
with Rolf. Her only friend is the telegram boy.
Not even, Rolf's not even there. I'm just saying, like, we've got a 16-year-old Liesel, and then the age ranges all the way down to 5, and they're all dressed the same way.
Right.
None of them look remotely embarrassed about it.
Right.
They're just so thrilled to be, as the captain would say, traipsing about.
And there's something about their curtain clothes is kind of like Destiny's Child. They're all the same, but a little bit different.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think it's Brigitte or Louisa. No, it's Louisa gets her own little kerchief on her head. Mm-hmm. Some of them are in pants. Some of them are in skirts.
We got a lot of
lederhosen. Right.
And so they do the do, re, mi. They do some really good bite choreography.
Right.
That's great. Mm-hmm. And then eventually the captain returns with the Baroness.
Oh, and sees them playing in the trees.
And Max, and yes, refers to them as, just local urchins.
Local urchins. My God. Oh, but they did mention something when they're in their picnic about, about how other governesses had left. And apparently, this is pretty horrific. They put glue on her toothbrush.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they did. And she asked them, what could make children as good as you resort to these types of things? And Liesel responds, well, how else do we get Father to pay attention to us?
Yeah, it's a little on the nose.
I know, I remember thinking, like, how self-aware. It's
Right.
very good for you, Liesel.
It's like, I'm going to write in some exposition here.
So, yeah, the captain's back. Max is in town. I guess.
Max is kind of like, I mean, obviously he's, an old friend of the family, but his relationship with the Baroness, he kind of seems like her like best gay friend. Like he always wants the tea. They're always spilling. He wants to know about the money.
Yeah. I that's an interesting point. They don't establish why Uncle Max is the perpetual bachelor type.
Right, and he kind of lives...
But is that not what that meant?
Right, he lives vicariously through their relationships and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah.
Well, he's like, what else am I going to do?
Yeah, he doesn't really... They never explain his relation to the family.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Like
he's
being
just...
a friend.
Yeah, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That is interesting.
And this is... Speaking of Max, this is when... I guess Rolf comes with another telegram, and they're talking about Nazi stuff. And Max says that he has no political convictions, and he says, we can't help it. And that's when the captain says, we have to help it.
Yeah. So at this... Wait, have the children shown up in the boat yet at this point?
No, not yet. They're about to. This is
okay, so they've just arrived back at the
after this conversation
estate.
is when that happens.
Yeah. Okay.
So they arrive in the boat. They fall in the water.
Fun fact. Mm-hmm. Gretel, I think she was 7 when they were filming, but she couldn't swim. And so they, staged the shot, and Julie Andrews was supposed to catch Gretel when they all fell. And she fell the opposite way. They did it twice. The first time she caught her, the second time she didn't catch her. And she just said, I've never swum harder in my life. And I think it was Louisa wound up rescuing Gretel, and then Gretel threw up all over her. And she says we doted on her for the rest of the day, but she was a very good sport. And, and it all worked out okay.
And this is when Maria and the captain get in a pretty big fight.
Yeah, huge fight. It's great.
Uh-huh.
And it's not long after that the kids start singing, and the captain is overcome with the sound of music.
It's the titular role. And, and he starts singing along.
He can't.
In my notes, I have in all
himself.
caps, crying.
Yeah, for a man that hates music, he is very quickly overwon.
Right, and this is like, I guess I had forgotten how quickly everybody does a 180. Mm-hmm. Like, he's, like, immediately on board.
Yeah, there's not a lot of...
not a lot of convincing.
Not a lot of, like, inner turmoil.
And he actually apologizes, which I didn't remember that he says, I apologize, and asks her to stay.
He does a lot of apologizing in this movie, and it makes him all that much better.
Right.
Yeah.
Real men apologize.
So are we at...
We're at Lonely
We're not quite at intermission yet.
We're at Lonely Goat Herd.
Oh my gosh, I hate this song.
I mean, it's fun. I always...
I hate this song.
It made me want a puppet theater in the house.
Did it?
Yeah, I even made one, I think, myself out of a big cardboard box.
I hate puppet. I like Muppets. Mm-hmm. They're very different from puppets. And there's actually even some Muppets that I do not care for.
You like puppets, you don't like marionettes, I'm going to say.
I'm going to say I specifically like Muppets.
You like Muppets.
With a couple exceptions. And you are correct, I do not care for marionettes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they are creepy, and I'm not a fan.
My only note really about this one is LOL Gwen Stefani. Because, I don't know, in the early 2000s, she really wanted to sample a lot of classic musicals. She did Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah, I remember Fiddler on the Roof. I had forgotten about the Lonely Goat Herd.
I think it's called Wind It Up. It's like, wind it up.
It's pretty. I'm going to have to look that up. You know, by the way, the children are actually doing the marionettes in that scene. Yeah, they learned how to do it. Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't know. That seems like a lot. They could have subbed in some...
And they have real foam on the beer.
Oh, yeah, because it blows. Uh-huh. Yeah, it blows off. Yeah.
So then they decide to sing a little bit more, and they convince the captain to sing Edelweiss, which is when the Baroness notices the connection between Maria and the captain.
No, there's no denying it.
Maria and Georg.
The Baroness is very intuitive.
She is.
She picks up on these things.
Uh-huh. And something that I wanted to mention about, because they have this conversation before the kids show back up, she and the captain do, and it seems like their connection is real.
Oh, absolutely,
And they have this really cute, flirty banter.
He has fun with her when he's staying with her. It's when she comes to Salzburg that... she's just not clicking the same way that he clicks in her world.
But he calls her his savior.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was a little dramatic.
Right. But what I'm saying is that we're not really giving the Baroness enough credit for also bringing him out of his shell in other ways that Maria didn't.
I think that's true. I think the Baroness has the writers tried so hard to make her... I don't want to say a villain, but kind of a villain. Mm-hmm. I'd say second to the Nazis. She's the closest thing to a villain.
Right.
Well, he is a Nazi. He counts.
She's a villain in
Spoiler alert.
She's a villain in the sense that she's an obstacle in the movie.
Yes. Or is she?
So then we move to the party.
Yeah, they do the party, and basically at the party they have the weirdest child performance of all time. It's great. It's a classic, but I can't watch that scene without thinking, what would I do if I was at a party with my friends and their children came out to perform a good night number?
I would probably go pee or go to the bar, step outside for a cigarette.
Yeah, I'd pick up smoking again.
Like, ooh,
my
30,
lift is here.
Ow, my period.
Any excuse ever. But at this party, they just respond. They sing back.
Goodbye.
Oh, that's beautiful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how it goes.
But in this party, we're also kind of introduced to the main Nazi villain.
Oh, yeah.
Herr Zeller.
And then we also get, I would say... the Baroness's, if she does have a bad moment, this is her worst.
Yeah, this is her most villainous moment. Because most of the other bad stuff that most of the other bad stuff that she does, you can kind of see her motivation. Mm-hmm. But this...
Although
she's very honest with
you can
Maria.
see it in this scene, too, right. She has a way of delivering what are very clear facts and like this very like sneaky sort of.
Why don't you wear that blue dress? He couldn't take his eyes
She
off.
just delivers it in this way that sounds sinister.
And she doesn't try. And Maria's like, I've got to go. And she's like, can I help?
Let me help you pack. Yeah, and then Maria just straight up runs off. Like, oh, you're right. He looked at me a funny way. Better go. Gotta get back.
You
ASAP.
blushed in his arms.
And this is enough to force Maria into complete seclusion.
Right. She packs her stuff. She leaves a note. She leaves the party.
Yeah.
And that is when you switch your VHS tapes if you are a kid at home on a sick day.
You didn't watch this on VHS, did you?
Yeah.
Did you really?
Where did you watch it?
Disney Plus.
Oh, no. I mean, when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah, as a kid. Yeah. Okay.
But there's actually, this is something I still haven't listened to, but apparently there is this This American Life episode about this girl who like only had the first VHS
yeah, only had the
tape.
first one.
And she thought it ended with
I did have
Maria
that
leaving
thought,
the party.
like, what if the movie just ended here? That would suck. Such a bummer. But it doesn't. We open back up with literally the saddest game of ball I've ever seen. I'm not even really sure what they're playing. They're just like throwing a medicine ball at each other.
I think it's kind of, did you ever play that game Zoom? Oh, you're like,
That's a current game.
right, but it's kind of everyone has a number, and you have like you say the number of the next person you're going to.
Yeah.
And you have to remember everyone's numbers. Anyway, it's not important. What is important is how hard Liesel throws the ball at the Baroness. And like she's trying to injure her. It's very funny.
She's also wearing, a beautiful dress and heels. I would struggle too.
Right? Mm-hmm.
They didn't really have. Oh,
Got her
I guess
little
this is
pussy
why
bow.
you need play clothes.
Exactly. So then Max invites her to drink some adult lemonade. Which is something
Spiked with lemonade.
Right. I didn't pick up on that as a kid. It's pink lemonade spiked with lemonade.
And then they
the news of the engagement.
yeah, did they do the engagement news or the saddest Hills Are Alive song first?
I
I don't think it matters. They
doesn't
sing
matter.
a very sad rendition of The Hills Are Alive.
Mm-hmm.
And then either that or around the same time, he makes the engagement announcement.
And then we've got
The Austrian kissing ritual.
the Austrian kissing ritual.
They just silently kiss her
'Cause
one
they
at
all-
a time on the cheek.
Yeah,
and then
there's no discussion about it. They just like, oh, this is when
and
we kiss her.
Kurt oddly lingers. And I think it's supposed to be implied that is he whispering something?
I don't know if
what
he's
is he
whispering
doing?
something, or it's just like implied that he's like being a creep.
It's so strange because he just stands there a little too long until
And the captain has to tell him
is
to
like,
stop.
okay, get out of here. But what was he doing?
I don't know. It's being creepy.
It's really weird.
So the kids go to the Abbey to try to talk to Maria.
But she's in seclusion.
Margareta sends them away. Right.
The kids go looking for her, and one of my favorite lines is Gretel, I want to show her my finger.
Right, she's got the little bandage on her
too
finger.
cute.
Mm-hmm.
But Maria's in seclusion. She won't even see the children, or they don't tell her the children are there.
I assume that they.
She goes to see Reverend Mother, and this is where Reverend Mother she's basically like the cool pope,
Right.
Because she tells her you have to go to him, and she does so in song
Right.
with "Climb Every Mountain."
Mm-hmm. You have to do everything to figure out what it is that you want to do.
Yeah, I mean I like that message.
I do too.
I'm a big fan. Although, did you know that's not her voice?
Really?
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's good at miming it.
It's also not the captain's voice.
I kind of assumed that, though. I didn't think that Christopher
I
Plummer
think
would have been.
the voice they found, though, sounds like Christopher Plummer's talking voice. Mm-hmm. They did a very good job matching it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, they did a good job of that back then. Like, even whoever did Audrey Hepburn's voice in My Fair Lady, like, it actually sounds like her tone of voice, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But when we come into her the Reverend Mother's office, we see this new nun that is just joining the
Oh, the
abbey.
new postulant, yes.
And she's wearing this dress.
Postulate.
She's wearing this dress that I'm assuming she's going to give up all of her worldly things, so she donates this dress. Uh-huh. Or she, like, gives up her clothes when she joins the abbey.
Oh, is that the dress?
It's the dress that Maria shows up in.
Stop. I never caught that. Oh, I love that.
Right?
That's fantastic.
And it's the same kind of thing that happens when Frau Schmidt gives her the bolts of fabric. Uh-huh. You can see, like, in the outfits that she is wearing during Doe
No, that's really good.
Are from that
That's
fabric.
a really good detail. I never noticed that. I love that. I think after that, we pick back up at home, and then she shows back up.
Right.
And also, I really loved the scene where the kids are lying about what they've been doing.
Right.
We were picking thousands of berries.
They were blueberries.
Thousands?
They were...
Well, where are they?
we ate them. I guess you don't want dinner.
That's impressive. Yeah, and at first he says blueberries. Blueberries aren't in season. Oh, right. There were strawberries. It's like, are y'all dumb?
And Friedrich says one of my favorite lines. He says, well, it's been so cold lately, they turned blue. And he also gives this look after he says it like that was the stupidest fucking thing I've ever said.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious that they know their lie is bad, but still, it's remarkably bad. Again, this is another one of those moments where I can understand why critics weren't thrilled with the movie when it first came out. Because how can you watch that scene and take it seriously?
But I think it's supposed to be funny.
It's supposed to be funny, but it's also still like, ooh, not the best acting.
And so
she shows back up in the dress. Mm-hmm. We all gasp.
And Gretel finally gets to tell her about her finger. She said it got caught.
Yeah, that was very cute.
Where? Friedrich's teeth.
Oh, right. That's where her finger got caught.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, Friedrich, how old are you? She's 5.
Right. He's like one of the oldest.
Give me a break. Yeah.
Biting fingers.
That's awful.
He's kind of, yeah. Friedrich's a weirdo.
All of the children. This is what I'm saying. They don't have outside friends. They're clearly homeschooled.
It's been so cold lately. They turned
No
blue.
offense to her.
So Maria finds out about the engagement. And she's obviously heartbroken because the reason she came back was to decide whether or not she was going to be with the captain. And so they say, oh, are you back forever? And she says, only until other arrangements can be made.
And then I think we cut to, in my notes we cut to, she's in a her one really nice dress.
She's in the dress that and I wonder if this is intentional because the Baroness had already told her how much the captain had looked at her.
I bet that is intentional.
So she was like,
Since, as you've already pointed out, there were good
costume continuity.
Yeah, there is good attention to detail there.
So she is like putting on this dress because she's like, this is the one he likes me in. I'm going to put it on.
Also could have been the only one.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of her only nice dress.
Yeah.
So she is out there by the gate, just looking
Or by the lake, I think. Yeah. Either way. Yeah, the lake is by the gate.
Yeah.
Correct.
And the captain's just kind of like standing on the balcony looking at her.
And then Eleanor comes out.
Elsa.
I always want to call her Eleanor. I don't know why. Elsa, not from Frozen.
Right.
Elsa, the Baroness, comes out and she can tell immediately what he's doing.
And at first she tries to talk to him about just kind of like mundane stuff. She's like, the wedding this or whatever. And then he says, Elsa,
and
listen.
I don't think it's mundane. I think that she's she knows immediately what's going on. So she directs the conversation to something about them.
Right.
Like she's really trying hard to rein him in.
Well, yeah, not mundane stuff, but like, bring him back to
her relationship.
To their relationship.
Yes, their relationship.
And he stops her mid-thought. And says, Elsa, it's no use.
It's no use,
And she immediately puts it on her terms. She's like, you know what? It was never going to work out.
Well, this is my favorite scene between the two of them. I think it's the nicest scene between the two of them because he very graciously lets her take the lead, quote unquote,
in the breakup.
Yeah, he lets her maintain her dignity,
right,
and let her be the one to end it. And I mean, they both know,
because all he really says is it's no use. And she just picks right up.
Right, and she knows that he knows, and he knows that she knows, but it's just an unspoken, polite way to end things, and she encourages him to really go for it.
After she says she's going to pack her little bags.
Yeah, I mean, the Baroness is cool.
I think there's a young lady out there that will never be a nun.
And she doesn't cry in front of him. She takes her... Yeah, I really love her in this scene. She puts up a good fight, you know?
Right.
And then she's a good sport when she doesn't ultimately win the day. And on reflection, I don't know that she does anything that I wouldn't do.
No, I mean, they obviously have a connection. They have what I think is a pretty...
Yeah. It's just...
a relationship
Elsa's not really a mother type.
Right. Which is tough when you have seven kids.
Children. Right. And she learns that when she goes out to see him.
Right.
And she comments, too, when they first get there about how he just seems so at home. You know, she's seeing him in a different light in Salzburg than she saw in, what is it, Vienna, where she lives. Right, yeah. And, I think that she's very respectful of his situation. And she's not catty about it. She doesn't try and sabotage anything. She
bows away gracefully.
Right. And when she first gets there, she's just, you know, she sees a woman who... she thinks is in love with her significant other, and so she's tries to get rid of her.
Right,
but
she's already in a relationship with him.
I mean, who wouldn't?
Right.
Who wouldn't?
Right.
Yeah. I would be threatened by Julie Andrews as well.
Especially
for obvious reasons.
Especially if she had something that was so important that the Baroness didn't have, which is this sort of innate ability to relate to children.
Absolutely.
But she is wearing that beautiful red dress with the black beading.
Yeah, she always looks good.
Gorgeous.
And so then
we moved to the gazebo.
I think, we moved to the gazebo. And
I called it the lover's gazebo.
Okay, so this is for me when the captain is at his most charming. When he says, hello. I mean, it's cute. Like, it's the first time you really catch him relaxed.
And he asks a question. He asks two questions. He says, I have two questions. And he knows the answer. But he says, why did you run away? And why did you come back? So she asks him, well, what about the Baroness? And he says, there isn't going to be any Baroness.
Which is a weird way of phrasing it. Right. But, you know, because she still exists.
Right.
Just not in his life. But this is when we go into the second song that was added for the movie. The second song that did not have contribution from Hammerstein.
So was this... I wonder if... I don't know if they did this kind of thing back then, but these days, like, whenever they make a movie version of a musical that already exists, they're always going to add a new song for the movie, and it's pretty much
to win the Oscar
for best original song.
Yes, absolutely.
So I wonder if that was the case with this.
Well, so I can't say that definitively, and that's a good question that I wish I had the answer to. Except I don't think they won a Best Number. I'm pretty positive they won Best Director and they won Best Picture. But I don't believe they won any other ones. That's not to say they weren't nominated.
Yeah. I mean, if they wrote a song for the movie, they were probably nominated.
Well, and I'd be curious to know, were they nominated for I Have Confidence or for this one or for both, which isn't unheard of.
Right. I imagine it would be this one because it was kind of like the love theme. It was a little bit more...
I'm not crazy about this one.
This is one that, as a kid, I hated. Like, the kissing and whatever made me uncomfortable.
The kissing, ew.
The kissing. It made me uncomfortable as a kid.
What's funny is it made her uncomfortable, too. Like, she said in her memoir that she, like, giggled a lot during the filming of this.
They do a lot of, like... It's very intimate, the kissing that they're doing. Like, kind of like kissing each other's faces in
What I love
random
is
places.
there is a lot of intimacy, but there's very little actual physical contact.
Right. They're just very close.
They're very close.
Their
and
faces are...
I think they touch lips once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, the romance between the two of them is very non-physical.
And this is something, I have a little bit of historical tidbits that I'll get to later on after we are done with the recap. But Maria said in her memoir that she wasn't in love with the captain.
Oh, the real Maria.
The real Maria von Trapp.
Oh, way to ruin everything.
Mm-hmm. Like, basically, he married her because she was so good with the kids. And
that's such a bummer.
but they eventually fell in love, and she said that it was the greatest love that she ever had.
Oh, good. I mean, I guess, like, that's not super uncommon for marriages back in the day. Mm-hmm. Or even today. I don't know. But I think especially back then, you married more out of...
To find a new mother.
I think it was maybe more about real partnership than about love.
Yeah. But something about this scene that I think happens a lot in their relationship, whenever they're having, like, a connection moment. I guess this happens with the Baroness, too. Like, all of a sudden, there's this, like, fuzzy filter on the camera.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I wrote down about this filter. Why is the lighting so soft? Like... it's like they have to signal to us this is a romantic moment.
This is a love scene.
We can tell.
We've got sparkly eyes and fuzzy filter.
And to think that Julie Andrews doesn't look absolutely like just porcelain skin perfection without that super duper soft lighting is absurd. I don't know why they insist on the soft lighting because it's very, in my opinion, distracting. And they do it during the dance. They do it during this scene. They do it. I can't remember the first time they do it, but it's too much.
It's when he's singing Edelweiss.
Yes.
And they're looking at each other when the Baroness is noticing.
Yeah, and it's very distracting.
But something about the direction that I think happens in this scene, and it happens a lot in Climb Every Mountain, I think, as well. The way that they play with, like, light and shadow and silhouette. It's really cool. Like, the entire, like, last part of this song is entirely silhouette with they're lit from behind. Yeah,
they did that on purpose. It had something to do with Julie Andrews just sort of, well, not just her. She and Christopher Plummer were both sort of laughing with each other the whole time.
Yeah, because their faces had to be 2 inches apart.
So close together, yeah.
And, I mean, it was a great choice. It ended up being, like, a really cool shot. If it had been a choice, I would have thought that it was a good choice.
Yeah, it was unintentional. It worked for the best. And then we have the wedding.
The wedding, which is... Okay, so why...
So many.
Why is the wedding song How Do You Solve a Problem Like
I know,
Marie?
because the direct message is not... I mean, is it or is it not? Like, you get her married.
Yeah, you get her married.
Yikes. Mm-hmm. And why are the nuns forced to watch it from behind the closed gates?
I was wondering the same thing.
I thought it was like a Catholic thing that you'd be able to tell me about.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I was raised Catholic, but we didn't have nuns.
Well, you know more than me.
We definitely didn't have nuns in cages at the wedding.
You mean nuns were allowed to attend all the weddings you went to as a child?
I mean, I don't get it because those are her friends.
I know, yeah. And
like
then
her
I also
only
wonder
friends.
how many people in that crowd, that massive crowd,
Knew her.
Yeah, knew her. My guess is 0.
Right.
And where are her parents?
Right. We don't know anything about her.
I know. The movie very conveniently just sort of forgets about Maria's parents.
Uh-huh. Well, anything about her past.
And then also the dead wife.
Right.
Because I noticed that when Liesl and she do sort of their redemption 16 going on 17 song. Mm-hmm. Redemption, in quotes. But that's when Liesl calls her mother. Reprise. Yeah. That's when Liesl calls her mother. And I'm just thinking,
like calling you mother.
Your mom died less than 5 years. I mean, maybe 5 years ago exactly, because that's how old Gretel is.
Right.
We don't know how she died, but we can assume she's been around, or she's been dead for 5 years minimum.
Right.
Absolute minimum. And she's just like, I'm going to call you mother now.
Yeah.
Screw it.
I like calling you mother.
It just seems quick. It seems quick. But for the story's sake, we don't need dead parents at all.
Or yeah, you want to. They want you to be invested in the Maria and the captain's relationship, not in their pasts, really.
Last thing about the wedding, that wedding dress.
Beautiful.
So nice. Julie Andrews agrees. Says to this day it is one of the best costumes she has ever worn.
It's gorgeous.
It's so beautiful.
So then we come to so Maria and the captain are on their honeymoon. Max is practicing with the kids at the amphitheater.
And Zeller shows up.
Zeller shows up.
With his Heil Hitlers and shit.
And this is another instance where we kind of see Max's hesitation with Nazi stuff, but also he just goes along with it. Albeit uncomfortably.
Yeah, I think in that scene he's just trying to maintain the peace for the children.
Right.
I do attribute his earlier positions to more, just being apathetic.
I mean, it's
way.
a self-preserving thing that he's doing.
Yeah, self-preservation. But in this scene, I mean, he is standing there with all the children. What is he supposed to do?
Right.
He doesn't want to tell them, like, oh, yeah, no, we're Nazis now. But he doesn't also want to get arrested.
But I think this is when people say that, like, fascist regimes rise is people who are apathetic people.
Yeah, 100%. But Max does semi-redeem himself.
He helps
not fully.
Yeah, he helps.
Yeah, later on. Basically, Zeller shows up to the rehearsal with Max and the kids are really confused, and I think one of them asks, why is he so mad? And then Max says, well, everyone's crossed these days, which I think we can all relate to.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then...
and Gretel says, maybe the flag with the black spider makes father nervous.
Makes people nervous, yeah.
Or makes people nervous, yeah.
And then Liesel sees Rolf again.
Freaking Rolf.
And she's like, are you going to bring me a telegram? Like, she's flirting, and he's very seriously a Nazi now.
Yeah, he is not having it. He's not there for nonsense.
No flirting.
He's a grown-up.
In my notes, it says, Rolf very serious with Liesel about Naziing.
My notes say, enter Rolf, freaking D-bag. And then the captain gets home and makes it very clear that he is not having it with either the Nazi takeover or singing in public.
Or the flag. He rips up the flag.
Yeah, I wrote down, there should be a GIF? There should be a GIF of this. It's GIF, but I like GIF.
I like GIF because it's... Yeah, anyway.
Less stupid.
Yeah. So, yeah, he doesn't agree with Nazi.
He doesn't agree with Nazi.
He doesn't agree with Max signing them up for the folk festival. So they decide that they're going to leave. They decide that they are going to escape that night because he's supposed to...
Zeller shows up, Rolf shows up with the telegram saying, you got to come join our Navy now.
Yeah, you have to... accept your position tomorrow.
Today, yeah, immediately.
Yeah, you have to go meet at the Air Force, whatever base it is, tomorrow.
And then all of a sudden he's like, okay, maybe we do sing in public.
Well, not until... So they're trying to escape.
Oh, right, and Zeller catches them.
Right, they're pushing the car out, and Max is helping them. So this is a redemptive moment for Max.
Well, and when they actually do escape, it is as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So they said that they didn't tell any of the staff that they were leaving because if they don't know anything, then they don't know anything.
What is with the butler?
I had a note about this as well. Franz is looking at them
Why did they even cut to? Because I don't think he rats anybody out.
And right, but they are waiting for them when they leave the house.
Is that what that's supposed to imply?
I don't know. It's he's looking at them in a very particular way.
Yeah. I mean, it's clear that the shot to the butler is supposed to imply something, but for me, the timing doesn't make it clear that the butler is the one that may have ratted them out to Zeller.
Right.
I just assumed that was based upon the fact that Zeller was paying attention.
Right.
You know, to the fact that the kids were practicing for the festival and so on and so forth.
So maybe this is it. So because they make a point of saying that they didn't tell the staff.
Right.
But Franz is looking at them in this way that he knows.
Yeah.
He's not surprised that they're leaving.
Yeah.
So maybe he did know, and he is the one that ratted them out, and that's why Zeller is waiting.
Maybe. I don't know.
Who knows?
Because there's not any, there's no conclusion there.
Right. They don't explain it, but who knows?
Anyway.
It's in there for a reason. So they say the car is broken down.
Sure enough, it's not.
Nope, it's not. They ask why they're wearing traveling clothes, and Maria says, it's our costumes for the folk festival. It's where we're going.
Why not?
So they go to the folk festival.
Yeah, well, Zeller allows them to go to the folk festival to
with an
prove
escort.
that nothing has changed.
Right.
They get there, they sing Jammin' Bread over and over and over.
Yeah, this is, I had...
I just wrote down, Jammin' Bread, LOL.
They have this new version of Doe a Deer with
Jammin' Bread.
with the Jammin' Bread remix.
Ton of Jammin' Bread. And then, okay, so this is a moment I really like. Basically, when the captain comes up to sing Edelweiss, and then the whole crowd sings along with him. I mean, that's beautiful. Mm-hmm. And we'll overlook for musical movie magic moments, we overlook the fact that there's no reason why the entire crowd should know this song. But in the actual filming of it, this is what's very funny to me. The producers, for some reason, thought that this audience of Austrian actor extras would all know the lyrics to Edelweiss.
Mm-hmm. I always assumed that
they did not.
Because isn't Edelweiss is like the national flower of Austria? Is that right?
I don't know. I
always just assumed it was like not necessarily not their national anthem, but like a song that like a country.
Well, I think that it has
song.
Sort of taken on a national significance since this movie came out.
Right.
But at the time that they were filming it, there was only the stage musical Sound of Music that had been running for a few years.
Right.
But it's not like Cats or anything. It's not like 20 years old. I don't know why I reference Cats. We could reference just as many other good musicals. But the producers assumed that this Austrian audience would all know the lyrics to Edelweiss.
So they had to like teach to them first.
Yeah, because of course they don't. Like, it's a song that was written by
I just assumed
Hammerstein like a couple of years ago.
As a kid, I assumed that it was like their national song or something.
Again, I don't know exactly where it stands today, and I do think it has taken on some, national significance.
Yeah.
But at the time, no. Yeah. And I just think it's so funny that they all assumed, like, oh, yeah, they're going to know this quote-unquote Austrian folk song.
Right.
It's like, it's not. It was written 3 years ago.
So the captain is overcome with emotion while singing it. So Maria first comes out to help him, and then the crowd joins in to help him.
It is a lovely moment.
And so then they do the abridged goodbye song, So Long Farewell.
And, and then Max basically just gives them enough time to scurry off stage and then announce...
And Fraulein Schweiger helps
start
them too.
Announcing the winners. Yeah, they do have a very nice moment of comedic relief there with her winning the third prize. Right. Yeah, that was pretty good. I liked that. I really enjoyed that a lot. It cuts the tension.
Yeah. And then the Toby Reiser Quintet wins second place, and then the Von Trapp Family Singers, and got the spotlight to the tunnel.
Uh-oh. Where'd they go?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they've escaped. And the first place the Nazis check is the Abbey, it seems like.
I think so, yes.
Which I guess they just assumed.
I think the Abbey was kind of like on the way back to the house.
Around the corner.
I'm sure they assumed they're not hiding out of the house.
Right.
And the searching for the family at the Abbey is a stressful scene.
Very stressful.
Very, very stressful. But also, oh my gosh,
oh, these nuns. These nuns. Oh my God, these nuns.
First of all, slowly.
Yeah, she's running to the door slowly.
Yeah, cool your jumps as slow as possible. And then, of course, at the end, when they say, "Mother, I have sinned," or "Mother, we have sinned."
Mm-hmm. And they have the car parts. It's great.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much.
They're hiding in the cemetery. Reverend Mother is helping them hide. She says they want to drive away, but she says that the borders have just closed.
Right. So they have to cross the mountains, which you may have learned more about this, but I learned from the limited research I did that geographically that makes zero sense.
Yeah, and that's not how it happened.
Yeah, if they had crossed the mountains, they would have crossed into Nazi Germany, apparently.
Did not happen.
That's okay. It's a fun ending.
The captain is able to talk Rolf down just enough.
Oh my gosh! Until he does shout, and in that scene,
that's because the captain had to say, "You were never gonna," like, he had to, like, throw in that last jab.
I don't put any of this on the captain. I think Rolf is just like a no good dummy 18-year-old.
Well, yeah, and the captain says you're just
trying to prove himself to someone, like, as the captain's saying, more or less. But
I just saw my notes. It says, "Here comes dumb old Ralph."
Pretty much, yeah. Oh, my notes are just like, ugh, it's Ralph again. And then I also remember thinking, like, hey, dummy, have fun explaining how your gun got stolen.
Right.
Because if I've watched any cop movie, I've learned they don't like it when
you lose your gun.
Yeah, when you lose your gun.
Mm-hmm.
They're not fans of that.
Have fun with that, Rolf. So they escape over the mountains and
yeah, that's basically it.
Mm-hmm. So I want to know, I think this is going to be a segment that we continue to do.
Ooh la la.
Because I guess this podcast about movie musicals is going to have a lot of references to The Sound of Music.
Yeah.
It's called The Hills Are Alive. And this segment is called My Favorite Things.
Oh, fun.
So I want to know what your top 5 favorite things are from the movie.
Okay, just generally favorite things, no real categories involved.
Right.
First of all, singing nuns.
Singing nuns.
I love them.
In any context, you just love singing nuns.
Pretty much, yeah. I can't remember the last time I heard a group of singing nuns and thought, like, ew, that's awful. Mm-hmm. I always love it. It's always beautiful.
Sister Act.
Les Mis.
Les Mis. Are there groups of singing nuns in there?
I mean, you don't see them, at least not in the movie. We'll talk about it in that episode. But yes, no, there is a song of singing nuns, and it's really gorgeous. Mm-hmm. It's hard to not sound that beautiful when you're that devout and singing in a cathedral.
Repressed sexuality leads to a multitude of things.
Okay, Gretel is my second favorite thing. Because she is the best child.
Gretel in general.
Yeah, Gretel's the best kid.
Yeah, for sure.
She's adorable. Now, that being said, Kurt's goodbye in...
yeah.
Can you do that again?
Nope.
Yeah, Kurt's goodbye is great. Julie Andrews' wedding dress, of course, is one of my favorites. And what is that? I think that's 4. I don't know that I came up with a 5th, but if I had to, right now, I would say the Baroness, because she deserves it.
I love
How about you? Give me your top 5 favorite things.
These are mostly moments that I chose, and I guess they're mostly things that we've talked about already.
I like it. Go ahead.
So mine is more of a countdown. Number 5, I've got, "It's been so cold lately, they turned blue."
Yeah, again, that scene is just like, it's so silly.
It's stupid.
It's so silly. Like, the scene prior to the captain is obviously lying to them. They ask him, what happened to Maria? And he's trying to explain, she left a note, MBD.
Yeah.
He's trying to act like he doesn't care, but it's very obvious that he's lying.
And it's obvious, like...
But, like, he's doing it in a way where his delivery is I think, like, really talented for an actor. Like, he's an actor being a bad liar.
Right. And I don't think it's a coincidence that he proposed immediately after Maria left.
Right. But with the children, like, they're just bad at it.
Yeah.
Like,
they
don't sell
his face after he says it is hilarious. Number 4, I've got Liesel throwing the ball at the Baroness.
Yeah, that is funny.
Number 3 is that the wedding song is How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria?
I know. I mean, the message is really bad there.
This is just favorite and not in a way that I love it, in a way that it's really funny to me.
I also wonder, though, is that not... Maybe the best way of looking at it is that's the nuns giving away Maria.
Right.
She doesn't have a dad for some unknown reason to walk her down the aisle.
It's their way of being involved in the wedding.
And also the nuns have to be behind the gates for some reason.
We gotta keep the nuns in the cages.
They can sing this one song to themselves, I assume.
Mm-hmm. Number 2 is the Jam and Bread remix.
Yeah, that one was pretty inexplicable.
With jam and bread. They go into like this madrigal version.
So much jam and bread.
Uh-huh. They just, you know what? They love jam and bread.
Love it. I mean, I do too.
And my number 1 is sisters Margareta and Berta.
Really?
Stealing the car parts.
Yeah. The stealing of the car parts is... I mean, it's hard not to just exclaim, like, yes, nuns, when you watch that scene.
Right. I just hope that they aren't punished for it in any way.
They're going to have to kiss the ground.
Oh, right. That was another one of my favorite comedic moments from Julie Andrews in this movie, was when she said that Berta always made her kiss the floor when she was doing something bad, and so she had just taken to kissing the floor when she saw her coming. Yeah,
that sounds... I don't know what it's like to be a nun, but that sounds like awful.
Right? I had some honorable mentions. The Beautiful Nun song at the beginning. Mm-hmm. So one of mine was singing Nuns as well.
Yeah.
And then the other one was the anticipation of the opening. Just because of like just how it made me feel as a kid.
Yeah.
But I have I just want to get into a little bit of the history of the real Von Trapp family, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm very interested.
So, he was 25 years her senior, the real Georg Von Trapp.
Okay. Oh, by the way, in the movie, I don't know what their ages were supposed to be, but in filming, she was 30, he was 35. Oh. I think he looks older than 35, but not in a bad way.
So they met in 1926, and he was born in 1880, and she was born in 1905. So she was 21, and he was 45.
Wow.
Yeah. His wife, Agatha, had died in 1922, and she was Maria was hired in 1926 to be the tutor of their daughter, who was also named Maria.
Well, and they had many more children than 7, right?
They had 3. They had 7 when she was hired.
Okay.
And they had 3 together.
Oh, okay. So 10 total, but 3 were with Maria.
Right.
Got it.
So she was hired as a tutor for Maria, the daughter Maria, who was convalescing from scarlet fever, and then she ended up being the teacher to all of them. But they married in 1927, which was just a year later. But the children...
I mean, that timeline does kind of track.
I mean, but it was like...
But it was later on. Much later on, yeah. Or later on in the movie.
11 years. They had been married for 11 years already when they fled.
Got it.
But the children from oldest to youngest are Rupert, Agatha, Maria, Werner, Hedwig, Johanna, and Martina.
I wonder why they changed the names.
I don't know, to make them sound more like traditionally Austrian or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the kids that they had together were Rosemary, Eleanor, and Johannes. So they had Johanna and Johannes. But they started performing in 1935 until Austria was annexed in 1938.
So the captain was not that anti-singing in public. IRL.
No. In real life, he was very into it. He didn't ever stop being interested in music.
I thought it was an odd quirk.
Right. But apparently, this is a fun fact. Apparently, right before they fled, they were touring and stuff, and they had ran into Hitler. They had a performance in Munich, and apparently ran into Hitler at a restaurant in 1938. right before they fled. So in June of that year, they traveled to Italy and then to England, and by September, they were on a ship to the U.S., where Johannes was born in Philadelphia in 1939. He's the youngest.
Oh, wow.
So the youngest was actually
An American citizen?
A born American citizen. And they were all naturalized by 1942. But this is another really interesting fact, that when they abandoned their home, it became the headquarters for Heinrich Himmler.
Okay, so that I did learn about. That's in that is in her memoir, and she talks about how she never visited the real estate during filming. Mm-hmm. They just didn't have enough time, but that she did return back there. I want to say with Diane Sawyer, if not with her, some other not late night, but nighttime news host, and for an anniversary, because they do, the 10th, the 20th, the 30th, the 40th, the 50th. She talks about visiting the real house for the first time and just feeling that sense of evil.
Yeah.
Because she knew it wasn't just that it turned into like one of their headquarters, basically, but there were some pretty brutal deaths that took place on those grounds, and she said that you could just feel it. Like, I mean, there were actual moments where apparently it's been documented that the guy that was running the estate would like shoot people from that balcony.
Jesus.
Yeah, and she said you could just sense that terror on the grounds.
I mean, I wouldn't want to go back to Heinrich Himmler's headquarters.
Yeah, that's more or less what she said.
But actually I think it's from 1986 or 1987, there is a special like a TV special that Julie Andrews did called Julie Andrews Christmas in Salzburg. And it is on YouTube. And she's like just running around Salzburg singing Christmas songs. John Denver is in it. Placido Domingo is in it. It's amazing. Okay.
That's really funny.
So the family did not secretly escape over the Alps to freedom in Switzerland, carrying their suitcases as musical instruments. As the daughter Maria said in a 2003 interview printed in Opera News, "We did not tell people that we were going to America to sing, and we did not climb over mountains with all of our heavy suitcases and instruments. We left by train, pretending nothing."
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
And they were traveling to Italy, not Switzerland. Actually, Georg was born in, I don't know how to pronounce it, Zadar, which is now in present-day Croatia, but it was at the time part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And it became part of Italy in 1920, and Georg was thus an Italian citizen, and his wife and children were as well by proxy.
All 10 of them, or 11, technically.
So the family had a contract already in place with an American booking agent when they left Austria, so they were allowed to leave. So when they moved, they came to Vermont. They ran a music camp on the grounds that they had purchased in Vermont, starting in the early 40s, while they continued to tour. And then Georg died in 1947, and they opened the Trapp Family Lodge in 1950, and then they stopped touring in 1955. So this is kind of where they all ended up. In 1956, Maria, Johannes, Rosemary, and the daughter Maria went to New Guinea to do missionary work. They were very religious people. One of the reasons that they left, actually, because there were the Nazis were having abortion mandates and stuff, where making people get abortions in their...
Another Scientology thing.
Right, exactly. So later on, Maria, the mother, ran the Trapp Family Lodge. Of the children, Rupert was a medical doctor. Agatha was a kindergarten teacher in Maryland. Daughter Maria was a missionary in New Guinea for 30 years. Werner was a farmer. Hedvig taught music. Johanna married and eventually returned to live in Austria. Martina married and died in childbirth very young. Rosemary and Eleanor both settled in Vermont, and Johannes, the youngest, ended up managing the Trapp Family Lodge. Maria died in 1987 and was buried alongside Georg and Martina on the grounds of the Trapp Family Lodge, which is still there. The original lodge was 27 rooms on the family's land, but it was destroyed by a fire in 1980, forcing 45 people to flee, including Maria. There was the body of one guest was found in the rubble, so one person died.
Oh, yikes.
But a new Austrian-style lodge with 93 rooms was opened in 1983, and it's still open till this day. So we should go.
Yeah, we should go. We should definitely go.
But the last of the original 7 stepchildren died in 2014, and that was Maria, the one that Maria had originally taught at the age of 99. But Maria and the children that Maria and Georg had together are all still alive.
Oh, that's lovely.
So those are my historical tidbits.
Yeah, fun historical facts. I love that. It's also sort of historical, and this involves the real Maria. Julie Andrews used to have a show. Well, she did 2 shows. She did one that was like a variety hour. I think it was just a one-time special. But that was with Carol Burnett. She and Carol Burnett actually became very close friends.
I've seen a clip from this.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, that's just like, that's a Hollywood celebrity friendship that I could never get enough of.
There's also a clip from Julie Andrews' variety show of her and Angela Lansbury doing a duet together.
Oh, wait, what does that have to do with Sound of Music?
Because it's Julie Andrews.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, well, I'm sure she did a lot of clips with other people.
Right.
But she does one with Carol Burnett during their personal variety hour, where they're actually making fun of the Von Trapp family singers.
The real Von Trapp, because they were very popular.
I don't know that they were so much making fun of the Von Trapps as they were the Sound of Music, the musical. Because at first, Julie Andrews was not a fan. She like the critics when the movie came out thought it was way too sentimental. And the edits that were done to the movie made it less sentimental enough for her to do it. The same thing with Christopher Plummer.
Right.
But apparently it wasn't made less sentimental enough for the critics.
Right.
But I always thought that was really interesting, the fact that she and Carol Burnett parodied The Sound of Music before she actually got cast. And then...
this was before.
Yeah, this was before she got cast in it. Yeah. Yeah. And then another interesting thing was Julie Andrews did... I think this was actually a TV show that she did. Now, how long it lasted, I don't know. But I think it was the Julie Andrews Variety Hour.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And she had on the real Maria Von Trapp to more or less teach her how to yodel. Because that was the one thing that she says she never really quite nailed.
Well, I really enjoyed talking about this with you, Kelsey. Do you have anything else to add? Anything else that you want to talk about?
Well, I do, actually.
Oh, yeah, tell me. Oh, yeah, you had notes about filming and stuff, right?
No, I had notes about recasting.
Oh, shit. Yeah, let's talk about this. So this is a segment that we also want to talk. We'll probably return to every episode.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Okay, so recasting, if you were to recast the movie today.
So I have always thought that, and this was before the movie Les Mis ever came out. I always said, like, so there was this big, so when Hugh Jackman and Anne Hathaway hosted the Oscars together.
They didn't.
They didn't? They just
No.
They just had a song together or something?
I'm pretty sure Anne Hathaway hosted with James Franco.
Oh, right. She did. Okay. Anyway, I've always thought that Hugh Jackman...
That they would make a great couple.
That they would be good in this musical. With Hugh Jackman
I completely
as
agree.
the captain and Anne Hathaway as
I think Hugh
Maria.
Jackman would be a perfect captain. 100%. Yeah, I completely agree. You know how I feel about Anne Hathaway.
How do you feel about it?
Not great.
It's me, Anne Hathaway.
It finally came true.
It came true.
That being said, I don't have my...
I didn't recast any children.
I don't have any Maria suggestions.
Other than Anne Hathaway.
I'm not saying she'd be bad for it. I think you're probably right, but I'm not going to recommend it.
I mean, she's the only one that I like. She has that kind of... She doesn't have, obviously, as much charisma as Julie Andrews.
Wait, you're saying that the Carrie Underwood production? didn't do it for you?
That was a strange choice. I did watch, I
God.
attempted
with Bill, or not Bill, but with
Bill from True Blood.
yeah. What's his name? Stephen Moyer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't very.
And
good.
Audra McDonald was the Reverend Mother.
Right, because you have to have someone that can sing that song, which is difficult.
But also, like, Audra, come on.
Yeah, that was bad.
Okay, so here's what I wrote down for recasting.
Uh-huh.
The only one I feel super confident about is Baroness Elizabeth Banks.
Ooh.
Right?
Good.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I didn't write anything down for this because I don't know, I assumed that we would just discuss it. But
Well, I think, Elizabeth Banks as the Baroness is...
Oh, that is great casting.
I feel like we could still do it today with Anne Hathaway,
Right.
Hugh Jackman, and Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah. They're a little bit old for it, but I feel
know,
like
we
that's
needed
fine.
to start tomorrow.
Right. I mean, I'm fine with their ages now, I think.
Well, and that's the thing with recasting, is I think we get some leeway to do, like, total fantasy casting.
Okay.
Because that leads me into my second recasting, which is iffy. Mm-hmm. The only one I can imagine is, it's Daniel, I think, Brühl, circa Gossip Girl.
Who is that?
He is like a prince or something that gets engaged to Blair.
Oh, I watched Gossip Girl.
He's in a lot of other stuff, though.
Okay.
That's just the one I identify with.
I don't know.
Like, he's in a big, he's in Captain America Civil War.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But I know you haven't seen that.
No, you're big into the MCU, though.
I love the MCU. Okay, my last suggestion, I have two for the captain. Mm-hmm. First one, I don't know if he can sing, but Michael Fassbender.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I can
you
see
can
that.
see it, right?
Yeah, I can see that.
And then second one, I didn't get this until the end, where he's very, very charming at the gazebo. Mm-hmm. But in that scene, I could really see Ewan McGregor pulling it off.
Yeah.
But at the front of the movie, I know. I don't know if he could be that. Yeah, I agree.
You know who would be a good captain is Armie Hammer.
Yes.
I also make those noises when I hear his name.
No, I agree. And on that note, why not Henry Cavill?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Did you watch Enola Holmes?
Yes, I did.
Oh. Henry Cavill could spit in my face and I would like it.
There's something about that sexy older brother.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would be a good captain as well. What about Liesl? I don't really know a lot of, like,
I don't know. I just say Zendaya.
That's what I was about to say. She's a singer. She's not really the right age anymore, but I will let it slide.
Well, I mean, not the real was 22.
Yeah.
21 or 22 when she filmed it.
Yeah, Zendaya. I'm into it. Yeah.
100%.
100%.
It's always Zendaya. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we have to find a role for Timothée Chalamet as well.
Could he do Rolf?
Could he?
You could, I mean...
He might be too good for Rolf.
I mean, I think he could pull it off. I mean, he's a really good actor.
I'm just saying, I love Timothée Chalamet. I don't want him to be...
To be bad.
I don't want him to be burdened with the role of a Nazi.
And you could bleach his hair. I mean, everyone's doing the quarantine bleach.
Oh, but that'd be awful. He has such beautiful hair.
I honestly haven't really been on the Timothée Chalamet train.
You need to get on board fast.
Maybe it's just like he's not my type, like the real skinny wafy boy, but
No, I hear you. I hear you.
I mean,
it's not about finding him attractive. Like, I'm 32. For the record, I don't. Mm-hmm. But I think that he's just an angel. Uh-huh. I think that he's such a talented angel. Mm-hmm. I just want to, like, give him blue ribbons. You know what I mean? Like, he's just, I really love him. I'm so proud of him.
Right.
I look at him and I say, good for you.
Look at you.
Look at you.
Look what you did.
You know what? He did a really good, what's his name in Little Women.
God bless what's his name? Laurie.
God. Yeah, I never thought that anyone could outdo Christian Bale as Laurie. And he didn't, but he came close.
He didn't. Christian Bale was obviously superior.
Christian Bale will always be Laurie.
Yes.
Bite me about it.
Ugh. And sorry.
Anyway.
If this is a made-for-Netflix reproduction of Sound of Music, then we'll have to put Noah Centineo in it. As Friedrich.
But you know what? I'm so sorry, Carrie Underwood. We're still going to go ahead and give Anne Hathaway a call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not an actress. I don't think she ever claimed to be an actress.
She just sings so loudly.
Yeah, she can't do that. She's just a belter. And that's not what...
Good? On a Carrie Underwood single?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love Carrie Underwood.
Yeah. It's
not
just
for Maria.
It's not for Maria.
No. Do you know what was really bad?
What?
The live TV Peter Pan with Allison.
Oh my God. No, I know. We will discuss that further.
We'll get there. Maybe if we do a Disney episode or something.
We will. Yeah.
Thank you so much for our first inaugural episode of The Hills Are Alive with Alex.
A movie musical podcast.
And
Kelsey.
We've really enjoyed doing this. Hopefully this got you hooked. I know it's a little bit on the long side, but
hopefully
it's a long movie.
You enjoyed falling asleep to it.
Yeah. Hopefully our lovely voices lulled you into a stupor.
If you're still listening at this point, we love you.
We love you. Goodbye.
Bye.
See you next time.
Get out of here.
We're done.